In this video, I'm going on a Royal Caribbean cruise aboard the Jewel of the Seas. I will show you the amenities aboard and things to do, talk about the food, and if it was any good, and explore the 5 destinations of Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, and St. Maarten. The adventure started bright and early in Phoenix, Arizona. Early morning, probably 4:30 a.m. right now, and I'm on my way to Puerto Rico to go on a cruise on Saturday. Going to Puerto Rico early, excited, and there's my plane right there, and I got about an hour before I got aboard, so I'm excited. It's super early though. I didn't sleep very well last night, so hopefully I'll sleep well tonight. The first leg of the flight took me to Charlotte. So I am here in Charlotte at the airport. First leg of my journey is done from Phoenix to Charlotte. Then I have a short layover, time to get some lunch, and then I fly to San Juan. Pretty excited. It's been a good trip so far. Excited for the next leg of the trip. And for lunch, I got a very fancy Whopper from Burger King. I really like the Charlotte airport. Then I boarded and set off to Puerto Rico. Just landed in Puerto Rico. Super excited for this trip. Gotta meet up with my friends. Awesome. I met up with my buddies Ben, Dill, and Troy. Puerto Rico, baby. Here we are. We headed to our Airbnb, then walked to dinner. We ate at a place called Burrito Social. I ordered the fajitas, Ben and Dill got a quesadilla, and Troy got a burrito. The food was really good. I would definitely eat there again. Next, we headed next door to a gelato place. I got a strawberry and mango combo, and it was absolutely amazing. Since the beach was only a 1-minute walk away, we decided to check it out. Even though it was nighttime, it looked awesome. I couldn't wait to check it out during the day. Here is a look from the balcony of our Airbnb that we have for a couple nights here in Puerto Rico. About a 8-minute walk from the beach. Pretty awesome. The next morning, we walked to breakfast. We ate at a place called Sabao or Sabeo. I had a breakfast sandwich and a pastry with some fancy boxed water. This place was great. I recommend it. Next, we decided we wanted to visit the famous port in Puerto Rico called the Castillo San Felipe del Morro. Pardon my pronunciation if I said that wrong. After a short drive, we were there. I've been here once before but didn't have time to walk around. This time, we were able to do some exploring. And I will say this place is massive and is absolutely amazing. If you ever come to Puerto Rico, you have to check this place out. If you like iguanas, you are in for a treat because they are everywhere here. Some were chilling on the walls, some in the grass, others clinging to the walls of the fort, and everywhere in between. Big boy. Come get me, bro. There are some stunning views of the ocean as well. A pretty fun place to spend a few hours. It is free to walk the grounds, but there is a cost if you want to go inside for the tour, which we didn't do. I'll leave that up to you if you plan to visit. After touring the Castillo, we walked around Old San Juan for a bit. I really like the architecture and the cobblestone streets, as well as the old churches. Next, we hit the road again in search of some waterfall slides. We traveled all over the mountains of Puerto Rico and saw lots of cool scenery. We stopped at a dam, saw some poor mangy dogs, then continued on. We never wound up finding the falls, but the 3-hour drive was full of amazing sights and good conversation. Hot and tired, we needed some beach time. The water was a bit cool, but refreshing. We spent about 45 minutes or so playing in the water. Then it was time to eat. I wanted some mofongo, so we found a restaurant that had it and headed over there. We started with some absolutely delicious fried calamari. Fried calamari. This is awesome. Some of the best calamari I've ever had. And then the mofongo was absolutely incredible. Like seriously, it was amazing. The best mofongo I have ever had. Of course, this was only the second time eating it. We did all of that and the cruise hadn't even started yet. Not a bad way to start a vacation. Finally, it was cruise day. With our bags packed, we were ready. Ready to get on the ship. I'm so excited. Ben's getting ready, his first cruise ever. Are you excited?
Oh yeah, I am. I have nothing in my mind to compare this to. This is all fresh and new.
You're gonna love it, my man. I wore my favorite first day cruising attire. We grabbed our bags and headed to the port. After a short 8-minute car ride with no traffic, we made it to the terminal. I found several others that I knew that were joining our big singles group. The boarding process was pretty painless. We waited about 30 or 40 minutes or so, and then we were able to get through the terminal and board the ship. Since we didn't have our room keys yet, we explored the ship. This is the smallest of the ships I have been on, but there is still so much to see and do. From a water slide to a decent-sized miniature golf course, to a really cool rock climbing wall, and there were swimming pools, hot tubs, sports court, where I got a few shots in, dance clubs, where our group spent a lot of the time dancing in the late evenings, a piano bar, pool tables, a fun theater with all kinds of shows, one of my favorite shows was this a cappella group, where Devin, who was part of our group, participated. It was pretty awesome. There was also a Celine Dion cover artist who sang very similar to Celine Dion. I was very impressed. They had an arcade for kids and a place for just adults called the Solarium. There was a nice cinema, which usually had 1 to 2 movies playing in each day. And a spa, where I actually wound up winning a raffle that was worth $150 spa credit. I didn't wind up using it. I gave it to my friend Dill instead. Of course, like most cruise ships, there was a casino on board. I didn't spend any time in there because I don't gamble. And there was much more to see and do on this ship. There were lots of little shops aboard in case you wanted to buy overpriced name brand and designer items, or maybe you just forgot a few items like toothpaste, Dramamine, etc. One of the highlights of the ship was in the middle, there was a place called the Centrum, where you could see from deck 4 all the way to deck 12. Here I am on deck 12 looking down, and here I am on deck 4 looking up. Stunning. There was lots of music and dancing and other activities in this area. There was constant entertainment that you could attend. Karaoke was a favorite for our group. My friend Matt and several others killed it. One night we attended a really cool silent dance party in the Safari Club. You got headphones, and then you could tune to 2 different channels and dance, but only you could hear the music. Very fun for the spectators and participants. There was also a gym on board with great views of the ocean. Pretty common for most cruise ships to have a gym. Also, there was a jogging track, in case you needed extra steps. Some other things to mention, there were different competitions that members of our large group participated in. We had a team compete in a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Several of our group were in a dodgeball tournament. And there was a belly flop competition, with a few from our group participating. And one of our group members, Devin, wound up winning the whole thing. Let's watch this magnificent belly flop.
And I would say 3, 2, 1.
One more time. Now in slow motion. Very impressive, Devin. And that looked like it hurt. One of my favorite things about cruises is the food. You can eat food almost 24/7 if you want to. On deck 11 was the Windjammer, where you could find all the main buffets, which were open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some of my favorite things to eat here were the bacon and eggs and the pastries. I also liked that they had fresh fruit all the time. Around the ship, there were other restaurants that you could eat at that you had to pay extra for. Another thing I ate a fair amount was the pizza. It wasn't gourmet, but I liked it. For dinner, we spent all the nights at the Tides restaurant on level 4 and 5 with our large singles group. There was over 100 of us in that group. I wouldn't say the food was the best I've ever had, but I did like it, and there was a good variety of things to eat, and some things that I really enjoyed. You always had a choice between appetizers, which came out first, the main entrees, and then the desserts. There was a good selection each night. I would usually order 2 appetizers and 1 main course, and then 2 desserts. Now, when it came to food on a cruise ship, I need to talk about the ice cream. I didn't go overboard, no pun intended, with the ice cream this time. I only averaged 1 cone a day. One thing I love about cruises is the endless supply of ice cream. Here on Royal Caribbean, my first time, I will say I do like the ice cream on Carnival better, but this is still really good. Now for some more clips of the food. Enjoy. The stairs. Endless walking of stairs. For me, that is how I keep off some of the calories from the cruise, is by always taking the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Just something I like to do, get some extra steps in. But my stateroom is on the 4th floor and most of the things happen on the 11th floor. So I get a lot of stairs in. Before we get to the excursions, I want to give you a tour of my stateroom. The eerie hallways. It's kind of always weird when there's no one in the hallways and it's just a really long hallway. And then I'll show you the stateroom. This is nice. Very nice stateroom. A really nice desk here. Already, I'm more impressed with these staterooms than the Carnival ships that I've been on. And then here is the restroom. It's pretty much the same size. So I really love my room. Like, I'm sitting here on my couch and I can just have my laptop going and do a little work. I always work a little bit when I go on cruises, especially just to keep up with YouTube comments, because if I don't, by the time I get home after a week, 8 days, 9 days after a trip, there's just so many comments to keep up with. And so I'd like to do that, log in every day and just work 15, 20 minutes and get some stuff done. But pretty awesome. It's very comfortable. I love this room. And I have to say, this room is nicer than the Carnival rooms that I've been in. Pretty awesome. Now, let's check out Dill's stateroom. So here we are in a balcony room. I'm gonna show you kind of the difference between the balcony and my room. It's my buddy Dill. This is his room.
Okay.
He's Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah, right.
So he splurged. Again, he has the couch like I do, a little kind of different couch. The bed is situated a different way to the side here, but width-wise, it's about the same, and the TV and the desk are the same. The bathroom is pretty close to the same.
Pretty
But
standard.
the reason why you pay the money is for this right here, the balcony. So if it's worth it to you to have a balcony, you have a view, and then you can just hang out with the table and some chairs, and you kind of just look out, and you can be on your balcony. And so that is why people do pay the extra money. So there you go. That is the difference between the two styles of rooms, the interior and the balcony. And I don't know anybody that has the suite, so I can't really show you what the suites look like. So, pretty awesome. After one full day of cruising in the Caribbean, we arrived at our first destination, Barbados. We woke up early and left the ship and walked along the long pier into the port. After boarding a bus, it only took 15 minutes or so, if that, of driving through town and along the coast to get to the beach. The beach was absolutely stunning with amazing crystal clear blue water, which was a pretty nice temperature. But if I had my way, the water would have been a tad warmer. We had plenty of time to swim, where I was able to try out my phone underwater, which worked out fairly well. There was plenty of time to relax as well. Next, we all climbed aboard a boat and rowed not too far away from the beach so we could go snorkeling. I love snorkeling. After hopping in the water, we swam over to a shipwreck. This was so fun. The water was super clear, so we were able to see all kinds of fish, some scuba divers exploring the shipwreck, and it was absolutely awesome. The highlight of this snorkel trip was when a sea turtle swam right underneath me. Luckily, my camera was on, so I caught it. I also managed to see a tarpon, at least I think it was a tarpon. Pretty cool fish. Great time snorkeling. We boarded the boat again and had a few minutes of playtime on the slide before heading back to the shore. On shore, there were several food stands to choose from, as well as a hungry kitty. I was told the mac and cheese pie was a must-try, so I did just that. It was amazing. Another friend, Matt, tried a burger. I also tried a steak kebab, and that too was very delicious. Of course, like most ports, when you're getting back to the ship, you have to walk through lots of shops, and Barbados was no different. After stopping for a moment to get some pictures and video at the Barbados sign, we were back on the ship. Amazing sunset in Barbados. And just like that, it was time to say goodbye to Barbados and on to the next port. Something interesting about the pool tables on board the ship that I found fascinating is they were on a hydraulic system or something like that, which kept the table level even though they were moving with the ship. Pretty awesome. The next stop was Trinidad. I woke up early to get out on the ship and watch us come to port and dock, which is something I really like to do. And the scenery did not disappoint. It was a great way to start the morning. Several of us didn't have an excursion planned, so we did our own exploring. We planned on walking to the Center for Performing Arts, which looks similar to the Sydney Opera House. We stopped in a park along the way, and there was a cool church to look at. Then, someone asked us if we wanted to tour the Parliament building. Free tour? Sure, sign us up. Inside there were some incredible pieces of art to look at and buy if we wished. Finally, the tour started, and we were able to see much of the Parliament building, mainly their main chambers for the Senate and the House. We learned much about how the government in Trinidad and Tobago is set up, most of which I have already forgotten. Yes, my memory is pretty terrible. After about 40 minutes or so, the tour ended, and once again we were exploring the streets of Trinidad. We finally made it to the Performing Arts Center. It was pretty amazing to look at. Unfortunately, we could not go inside because there were no performances going on at that time. Across the street, there was a monument to the soldiers who fought in World War I and World War II. We met a guy with a van who offered to give us a little tour of some notable places in Trinidad. $15 a piece? You got yourself a deal, sir. I was amazed at all the cool architecture there is in Trinidad. Our driver was extremely knowledgeable about the area, and we would stop in the road for several seconds as he explained what each building was and the history behind it.
Good thing we didn't walk this.
You walk? No way.
Next, we arrived at Fort George. It isn't a very big fort, but it's on top of a mountain and has an amazing view this side of Trinidad. We spent 20 minutes or so walking around the grounds, taking photos, and of course, video. Also, I found another kitty to pet. After the fort, it was time for more exploring. We stopped at a market along the way to get some snacks, which I failed to get some video of. I know, I'm a slacker. After driving past several amazing buildings, one of which was the President of Trinidad and Tobago's house, we wound up at a cathedral. Another incredible building. After about 15 minutes of walking around the cathedral, we were on our way back to the ship. And just like that, we are leaving Trinidad. Bright and early the next morning, I was on the helipad, which is on deck 5, watching us come into port in Tobago. Our group left the ship and made our way across the pier into the port. There, we boarded a few buses and took a 30 to 40 minute journey to the very popular Argyle Falls. At the entrance, we met our guide and enjoyed a 20-minute or so walk to the base of the falls. There were all kinds of cool trees to see along the way, including amazing cocoa trees, bamboo, and a giant silk cotton tree. I may like trees a little more than the average person. Argyle Falls is a series of 3 main waterfalls with a 4th one that is much smaller at the very top and out of view. We had about an hour or so to explore, play in the water, take lots of photos and video, and just enjoy this amazing place.
Feels good!
After a fun time at the falls, we were on our way to the next destination, which was Fort King George. We did stop at a local bakery to get some pastries and drinks. Really good, flaky, bits of jam on there. Delicious. Fort King George was much bigger than Fort George on Trinidad. It had cannons, several buildings that made up the fort, and it had one amazing view of the ocean. We had about 30 minutes or so to explore the area. Such a cool place to explore and worth visiting if you're ever in Tobago. Inside Fort King George. Powder magazine. Ooh, this is cool. Echo! Woo! Oh, there's a bat up there.
I scratched my sunglasses. I'm not very happy.
If I can focus on it. Yep, you can totally see the scratch.
That's a big scratch too. Guess it's better than losing an eyeball. So.
Yep. Once time was up, it was back to the port. We had a couple of hours left before we needed to get back on the ship, so we walked over to the Tobago sign. After that, back on the ship we went. Several of us made our way to the helipad to watch us as we left the port. And just like that, we are leaving Tobago. The next morning, we were in St. Lucia. While I did wake up pretty early, the ship was already docked, so I missed seeing our ship come to port. However, I did watch as a Holland America ship came into port. It turns out they were on a 21-day cruise, which was taking them all around the Caribbean. I want to do that cruise. We left our ship and headed to the meeting point to get on the bus. After about a 30-minute bus ride, we made it to our destination. We saw a few cats and then walked through an amazing mangrove forest. After signing some paperwork, we boarded the boat and headed out for the snorkeling and scuba diving area. I was pretty excited because this would be my first time scuba diving. All the equipment was fairly heavy, but not too bad. Once ready, I jumped into the water. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my breathing right underwater and didn't feel comfortable proceeding. So that was kind of a bummer. But I was still able to do some snorkeling, so all wasn't lost. After getting back on the boat, they served us some really good lunch. Fried chicken, mac and cheese, rice, and beans. It was really good and rivaled what we were served on the cruise ship. It was then time to return to port. We made it back to the ship with about an hour to spare. I spent about 30 minutes on deck watching as we departed. And just like that, we are leaving St. Lucia. The next morning, I again woke up early and got on the helipad to watch us come into the port at St. Maarten. For those of you who don't know, there is St. Maarten with an I, which is the French side, and St. Maarten, which is the Dutch side, on the same island. The cruise port is on the Dutch side. We didn't have a set excursion planned, so we created our own. After leaving the ship, we made our way down the dock and into port. I really like this port. It might have been my favorite of all the ports. We rented ATVs for the day so we could tour the island at our leisure. Our first destination was the famous Maho Beach, or Airport Beach. It is a very popular beach, and for good reason. People love sitting there and watching the planes come in. We were not there long enough to get one of the big planes landing, but that's okay. I still managed to get several planes landing. Next, we continued our journey to go around the whole island. While on the French side it started to rain on us, I didn't mind it so much.
Well, it's raining, and our fellow companions are in the rain, and we're in a Toyota Camry. Oh, you made fun of me for being a nerd, but I'm not getting rained on.
Then we wound up at a nude beach, but we didn't actually go to the nude beach. We were a few beaches over from it. We didn't have a lot of time, so we only hung out at the beach for about 30 minutes. We were a little afraid that we would miss our ship. We still had to fill up on gas and return the ATVs. It turned out not to be a problem, and we made it back with an hour to spare. However, our ATVs were almost unempty, so luckily we came back when we did. I did a little shopping at the port, and then boarded the ship one last time. And just like that, we are leaving St. Maarten, the last excursion on our cruise. Sad day. A lot of our group had a farewell party on the helipad as we were leaving the port. And, like magic, there was an amazing rainbow bidding us adieu. The next morning, we were in Puerto Rico. A bittersweet moment knowing the vacation was coming to an end. After disembarking the ship, it was time to get to the airport and fly back home to Arizona. I treated myself to an upgrade and rode first class from Miami to Phoenix. Not gonna lie, it was awesome. It was such a fun cruising experience. I enjoyed my time on my first Royal Caribbean ship. I do think I prefer bigger ships, but the Jewel of the Seas wasn't bad at all. I can't wait to go on another cruise. Where should I go next? If you are looking to book a cruise, check the description box for my affiliate link. Happy cruising, everyone! And now for a bit more B-roll of the cruising experience. Because, let's be honest, this video is not quite long enough. Bye.